This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. I'm delighted to be joined by Luke Campbell. We're here in London. Where are we? We're at the Alma Hotel in London. Very nice hotel. We're here to announce you're joining up with Shane McGuigan. How are you, Luke?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. We're in Wandsworth, and we're above a pub. You know, it's a perfect place to meet and discuss what's going on. Yeah, joined up with Shane McGuigan. Very happy about us teaming up. I'm excited for the future. I believe now, working with Shane, he will take me now to that next level and not only win world titles but dominate the division.
Just tell me a little bit about that, because as somebody who's followed your career from your amateur days turning over as a pro, obviously after your defeat to Ivan Mendy, you joined forces with Jorge Rubio. You've made great strides under Jorge Rubio. Now you've changed trainer. Tell me a little bit about how that happened.
Well, when I first started my pro career, I never really had a team around me whatsoever. So I was doing a lot of it myself, and even though I was always dedicated and focused, which I've always done, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't get any guidance or advice or anything. I just sort of went with the flow of things. The night I fought Mendy the first time around, I don't really want to go talk about the past, but it was a night I should never have been in the ring, but I went in the ring, and everything happens for a reason. You live, you learn. And then from there, the only other trainer that I've ever worked with was George. So it was a big decision for me to go over with George. Really liked George, really liked his training. Went over and trained with George. I took myself away from my family, away from here, from the media, everything. And I was there 2.5 years. And George did a great job. And he did a great job. But now I feel like it's time that I need to be back based in the UK. And I wasn't necessarily looking for a new trainer. I just come across Shane and we just fit. Really liked the stuff that he was doing with me, really liked the training. We just had a great connection and I felt great with him. And it's the first time I've ever actually felt like I've had a team around me where every single box is ticked. And, now I believe that, not like I said, Shane can really take me to the next level and get the best out of me.
Tell me a little bit about what it was like for you. I appreciate you don't want to dwell on the past, but I think it's quite important when we discuss that before we discuss the present. Moving over to Miami, you're somebody who was well travelled as an amateur. You travelled the world, winning titles. Was it different though this time, moving from your base here to training out in Miami? Big culture change to Hull. What was that like for you, and how do you feel that helped you develop?
Massively. London's a lot different to Hull. Never mind Miami, but it was a big decision I had to make with a family, and I was going away by myself. I toughened up, physically, mentally, everything. It's one of them where I'm by myself away for 7 weeks away from my family, and I'm training in a new place. I'm going into different gyms I've never been in before, hostile environments, sparring guys. Got to earn your respect. And that's what it was like, really. It was tough. I felt like it certainly brought me on, going over there and sparring in gyms where they had 20 people around the ring cheering for them, and it was a hell of a lot. It was really different, but there weren't sparring sessions. There was real fights, and it certainly brought me on, toughened me up. And it made me realise how much I want this, and this is what I do, this is what I live for, and I lived a life for it, and I want to be the best.
How do you feel that move, as you say, the sparring sessions? I mean, sparring stories are always very interesting, what you hear from the other side of the pond. How do you feel that helped you develop as a fighter and make you the fighter that you are now as you step onto this next step in your journey?
Well, a lot of it was mentally over there, I have no one there. I was on my own, and I was going into different places that I've never been before, everybody speaking Spanish, screaming, and different guys, always bigger than me. And I had to go in there and I had to earn my respect. So that in itself is... I don't think there's a lot of fighters out there that will go out there on their own and put themselves in them hostile environments and train and fight. But it shows you how much I want it and how much I want to succeed at the sport and where I want to go.
Now, we saw you unsuccessfully challenge for a world title against Jorge Linares. I think a lot of people going into that fight potentially underestimated you for whatever reason when you gave a tremendous account of yourself against one of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Now the dust has settled a little bit, you've had a little bit of time to reflect on that performance. What did you make of your fight with Jorge Linares?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fight. I thought that performance was enough to win the fight. I thought I won by 7 rounds. But listen, at the end of the day, I'm facing a freeweight world champion, and I've gone across the pond in his back garden on his show, HBO show. So I was up against it all. Everything, I was up against it all. But that being said, I gave a good account on myself. Like I say, I honestly thought I nicked the fight, but it's close. I feel like I'd love the rematch because then I can really show him who's boss, and I think I beat him comfortable. And he is one of the fighters that's in the top 10 pound for pound list, and it shows you what I can do. And I don't believe I'm even touching the surface of what I can do, what I'm capable of.
Now, just touching on that, one of the things that came out after the fight, and I know that's something that has recurred or had recurred throughout your career, was the situation with your father. You revealed after the fight that your father sadly had passed away a number of weeks before the fight. Just give me a small insight, if you can, as to how preparation was with that going on in the background.
Yeah. 2 weeks before the fight, got a phone call, and it was off my older brother. And it wasn't a FaceTime or a WhatsApp call, it was an actual call. And as soon as I seen him calling me, I thought, this ain't right. There's no way he would spend his money on calling me normal over to Miami. So I thought straight away, but there's something not quite right. Then he passed the news on to me. Then I went for a walk on my own. And just had to block out my mind. I think in a way, because I was away from all my family. Because I was away from all my family and I was on my own, it helped me shut it out. If I'd have been around the family and everybody, then I think I would have let it in, let it get to me. But there was a hell of a lot of moments where I'd start getting anxiety attacks when I was on my own, and when it come back into my mind, I'd get anxiety attack and think about what happened, and then I'd have to shut it out again. So it was a very tough. It was a tough time for me to have that on top of what was going on already. But I believe he was there in the fight with me. I do believe that.
Obviously, I don't want to dwell on this subject for too much longer, but if you will, just talk to me about the aftermath of the fight. I'm sure losing any fight is difficult, but given the sort of personal turmoil and the very close personal loss that you suffered just before the fight, what was that like after the Jorge Linares fight? I mean, the grieving process and sort of having the fight out of the way and being able to refocus again on family stuff.
I think when I went back to the changing rooms, I think I finally let it out a little bit and cried about it. But because I was still away from everything, I didn't want to get back on the plane going home, because I thought, right, that's it. I've got to face the music, and didn't want that to happen. But yeah, I could sort of finally let it in a little bit, and that's the first thing I did after the fight. Obviously, I was gutted about the fight too. I get emotional if I don't get the fight, if the fight's not going my way, because I put everything into it. I live my life to be the best I can be in boxing, and obviously it's emotional when it don't go your way on that night. But yeah, first thing I did is sort of think about my dad. So yeah.
Well, I do appreciate you sharing that with me. And as I said, we won't dwell on that. Let's talk about the future. Shane McGuigan. Why Shane McGuigan? What led you to Shane McGuigan? You mentioned that you enjoy what he does in the gym. I know your old amateur teammate George Groves is part of the stable. Did you speak with George beforehand?
Actually, I can't remember if I had a chat with George before, and I think I did, yeah. But it was... I've been seeing Shane for years now, like watching him, seeing him at fights and seeing the success he has, and watching documentaries on him in the training camps and stuff like that. And I just thought he just seems to be very professional in what he's doing. Everything's covered. I like that. And obviously the most important thing, he was successful with his fighters. Always got great results. So I thought he must be doing something right. And like I say, I wasn't necessarily out looking for trainers. I come across Shane, had a couple of sessions with him, really liked how we worked together and got a connection with him straight away, and felt like this is a great fit and this is where I need to be to go to the next level.
How is he different from Jorge Rubio? Jorge Rubio is somebody steeped in this Cuban background, very much a Cuban trainer. Shane, not quite like that, more of a catch and counter style. Technically, how do you think that Shane is going to be a better fit or be able to sort of push you on from the work that you were doing with Rubio?
There's no comparison in them both. They're both very different coaches. Shane's more pro style, more like developing more power. Got some great things. We're working on making adjustments to my style already. And he just knows. He knows he's got a real knack for it. He knows what he's on about. He knows the pro game, and he knows what he's talking about. He sees things, and he's great at that. He's got a great eye for it. He knows his boxing is very calm, and I just think this is a great fit. George has his qualities in things he does. Don't get me wrong, but I just feel like with Shane, I think this is a great fit for me, and now it's time to take it up a level with him, which I believe we'll do.
Okay, and just finally, because there's a room full of media who'd love to have a chat with you, Luke, do appreciate your time. When can we expect to see you in the ring next? Is it going to be the Ivan Mendy rematch? I know that's been heavily rumoured. Potential domestic clashes as a buzzing lightweight division in the UK. What's next for you?
Well, Mendy is a fight that we want. It's a fight that we've been asking for a while, so we just got to see what my promoter's saying, see if we can make that happen. But listen, we want world titles, and that's the way we're going.
Okay, well, Luke Campbell, thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Lovely to have you back on these shores. Yeah. Look forward to seeing you back in the ring soon. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Cheers, Luke. Thanks, mate.